Hello everyone and welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're doing good and well. So it's time for not one, not two, but three Shoegaze album reviews this week on the channel. And this is partly because of the Slow Crush release first, which I last reviewed on the channel. Made me realise I've actually missed quite a few Shoegaze releases, and these are three which I've been listening to lately. Two of which are actually recommendations. One is one I've discovered myself through a YouTube recommendation and realised that album was also released in 2025. So I thought, you know what, let's just do a triple review here. Let's cover all three of these. I think at least good releases, solid releases here that are worth checking out if you have an interest in shoegaze or dream pop styles. So my first review here is going to be for Blankenberge's fourth studio album titled Decisions, which came out via Automatic Music back on the 25th of July, and the album is 8 tracks and 40 minutes in length. And for me, this is a very similar sound to another Russian shoegaze band called Pink Shiny Ultra Blast, who have actually one of my all-time favourite albums in their discography called Everything Else Matters. And this is very similar style to that. You know, it's super spacey, and really ghostly vocals that are so faint they're almost more like an extra layer than a driving force in the songs. You've got some good bass bops and drum beats in these tracks as well, keeping the dynamics sometimes, varying tempos a little bit more, so it's not just kind of one sort of dreamy atmospheric sound throughout the record. And I like the way that they change things up throughout this record as well, although overall I'd say it's still sometimes, there are quite long segments of spaciness and dreaminess and, sort of layers of distorted guitars throughout the album, which I personally enjoy. I have been enjoying listening to this Decisions record. Some of my highlights on this one, I would say, are New Rules, which brings a bit of groove and blends reverb layers and electronics with a bit of a groovy bass line and a cool drum beat, which I really like. And you could almost call this song more happy shoegaze, and this band generally, I think they bring a little bit of that, like Pink Shiny Ultra Blast. You get more of the euphoric side of the genre than the really sad, down-tempo, melancholic side, and that song introduces a bit of that for me. Home Our Planet is a slower down-tempo track, but still very good. Echoey vocals, long, hanging, atmospheric guitars and distortions that work effectively for this song, and the vocals as well, I think. Escape is another more kind of dynamic, upbeat track with some great percussive moments, more pleasant, dreamy melodies, and sublime layering once again in this song. Particularly at the end, I enjoyed the guitar rhythm that got introduced and brought a bit of heaviness into the song too. So I thoroughly enjoyed this Blankenberge Decisions album. I do think at times I found myself preferring the moments where they did introduce some other elements, or you got that boppy bass line, boppy bass guitar, and would have liked a bit more of that, almost like Pink Shiny Ultra Blast, Everything Else Matters record sort of, did, just to kind of vary up the tempos a little more for me. I give this one an 8 out of 10. I still thoroughly enjoyed this one. The next album I'm going to be talking about, which is the second album for this triple review, is the second release from this Texan shoegaze group called Daydream Twins. And this is their release, Solstice for Embodiment, which came out way back in February, on February the 6th. This album is 10 tracks and 53 minutes in length. And this is, kind of twinkly guitars, more of the dream pop kind of a sound, I'd say, overall, whilst they do blend in sometimes some fuzzier moments, some light distortion. Reminds me a little bit of Alison's Halo, for those of you that know that, and Slow Dive 2, your Savlaki era of Slow Dive. And this is another great album, actually. I've really enjoyed this one. This kind of, at times, plummets into those emotional depths. You get some really emotional tracks on here, quite devastatingly sad at times, as well as some lighter moments too, bringing a little bit of balance to the record. I quite like the description that the Austin Chronicle did for this album, complimenting Jordan Elizabeth Terry's vocals, who's the singer for the record. Has very light, very beautiful vocals throughout the album. And so Austin Chronicle says, shifting from airy dream pop to crashing waves of noise, lead singer Jordan Terry's ethereal vocals anchor the 10-track project's emotional depths. With moments of nostalgia, euphoria, and devastating heartbreak, Solstice captures the fleeting nature of love and time, lingering like a fever dream. And I generally agree with that as a statement or as a summary of the album. It's a beautiful record. Go check it out. Really sort of lovely. If at times, if you don't like the slower, sadder side of the spectrum of shoegaze, you might like this a little less. But I think if you find yourself enveloped by the overall kind of emotional sadness that the record brings with it, you're going to find this a beautiful album. I'm going to give this one another 8 out of 10, I think, overall. It's a little long. If I have one criticism, I think this one is a little long for me. It didn't necessarily need to be sort of over 50 minutes. I think I would have taken this one down to 45 minutes maybe and trimmed a couple of songs a little bit. But yeah, great tracks on here like Solstice for Embodiment. If I fall leans into that Alison's Halo sound for me, a little bit of Cranberries here and there with this track I can kind of hear with the sort of guitar strumming style, yeah, catchy chorus on that one. And the song which I found devastatingly sad was a track called Eremantcy, the 7th song on this record. So yeah, this one's an 8 out of 10 for me. The final album I'm going to talk about is Wisp's debut album titled If Not Winter, which was released via Interscope back on the 1st of August. The album is 12 tracks and a little shy of 40 minutes. And considering this is just a debut record, I was pretty impressed by this. This is really well packaged. I think the production is fantastic. Certainly brings all those little shoegaze tweaks and developments into the songs very, very well. And I particularly enjoyed the synth touches to this album. And Natalie Lou, who is effectively Wisp, she's the sort of the power behind this project. Brings very soft vocals to the record. And for me, if I had one criticism of this album, it's at times that those, soft vocals almost become a little on the repetitive side for me as you go from song to song. I almost wondered if this, if this artist would benefit from another vocalist to kind of bring harmonies in the style of like Lush, for example, to really enhance some of the vocal moments that you get on the record, because the sound and the textures are hugely powerful, like coming from the instrumentals for me, really work well to, give you an almost, perfect sort of classic shoegaze sound at times. Some of my favourites, some of my highlights from this record are, Save Me Now, which is heavier and fuzzier, more slow crush than slow dive, but a very effective track and one of the highlights to me on the record. I also really enjoyed Sword, the opener, which kind of shows, the gentle whispery vocals bonding well with those measured bursts of distortion and reverb, which, again, I think this is a great track actually to start the album off for me, very memorable too. By the time of Guide Light, which is sort of midway through the album, I started to notice that the vocal tone was quite similar in each song. But again, there is a gorgeous synth moment in this track, which kind of almost made up for that for me. And yeah, this is a promising album. I have heard people saying, this is a TikTok star, and some people maybe being a bit judgmental because this artist has kind of gained notoriety through that social media platform. But for me, I don't really care. I think this is a great little record, and as a debut, it's really promising. As I say, I think it could do with one or two other flavours as you go from song to song, just to make it that bit more, just to add that bit more variety to, otherwise really fantastic album and production. I think this one's a 7.5 for me. Like I say, there's a lot of potential here for album number 2. And I think this is an artist that's sort of got certainly some talent in. I enjoyed the lyricism as well. And yeah, this one is for me going to be a 7.5 out of 10 to finish off this triple review. Let me know what you thought of these 3 albums in the comments. I've covered Blankenberge Decisions, Daydream Twins, Solstice for Embodiment, and Wisp If Not Winter. Let me know what you thought of these 3 albums in the comments. Otherwise, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you're new to the Green Man. You want more of this kind of content. And until next time, it is bye for now.